So, of course, food is always one of the big defining elements of a vacation, especially a cruise vacation. And one thing that's really great about my son and myself is that we don't mind trying new things. And he especially doesn't. I've been very lucky. I've been very lucky because he is a kid that doesn't mind trying new things, doesn't mind, and likes a lot of different stuff. He likes a lot of different types of food. So that's also been very lucky on my part because I know there's some picky eaters out there, but I got lucky with him. He's not one of them. And as such, on a cruise, he tends to do like I do a lot, which is try something different than what we have at home. That's the big chance on vacation is to try something new and unusual instead of the standard. And not to say we don't eat burgers. We do. We'll have guys burgers, or I always go to the cantina as well, even though we've got tons of Tex-Mex here in Oklahoma. We'll have those things, but we'll also try something different. Now, the second night of the cruise, of course, was formal night. Third night, we had the chef's table. So the first 3 nights on the ship, we had some pretty impressive meals. We had the New Year's Eve, dinner the first night, formal night the second night, and then chef's table on the third night, which was the day we were in Cozumel. We're going to look at formal night first. We're going to look at both of them. The first formal night I really enjoyed. The menu here so I can actually read it. But you can see I had, as an appetizer, had the cured salmon with candied tomato. Now, that's something I've only seen on a menu on Carnival. I get it every time I go. If I catch it, if I'm lucky and I catch it that night in the main MDR, in the main dining room. So I had that. I also had the salmon. Big on my particular plate. And my son had the grilled mahi-mahi, which looks so good. I kind of regretted not getting that. Yes, I could have ordered both. I don't usually order two entrees. Some people do. I usually just don't want that much to eat. So I didn't order both. And then for dessert, he had the tiramisu, which looked better than I expected. And I had fresh tropical fruit that night. And I'm not sure if I just had a lot of candy and ice cream during the day and thought, maybe I should lay off. Or if I just happen to like fruit a lot. I eat fruit a lot at home. So maybe I just thought, hey, I'll have some fruit. My son, I don't remember what he had as an appetizer. Oh, yes, I do. It was a strawberry bisque. It was a strawberry bisque soup, which is also one of my favorites. And in a way, I wish I had ordered 2 appetizers because I haven't had the strawberry bisque in a while, and I kind of miss it. I kind of miss it right now talking about it. I kind of wish I had that lovely bowl of cool strawberry cream soup, which is almost like a dessert. It's almost like having dessert first. Maybe I could have ordered it as dessert. I should have ordered it as dessert. I can remember that next time. How am I about to go on my 12th cruise? That doesn't occur to me until right now. I don't know, but I should have ordered it as dessert. Now, we also had, of course, 2 formal nights. The second formal night, I didn't get the menu for that, but my son had kind of a soup as an appetizer. I think I actually skipped the appetizer that night. Again, I love eating on board ship, but sometimes it's just too much. I have eaten a lot during the day for some reason, or I just don't want that much to eat that night. So I skipped the appetizer myself. Now, I had bread. The breads are usually kind of the same breads each night, like a cranberry bread and a baguette. There's a little bit of variation. Sometimes there might be something else thrown in there. The cranberry is my absolute favorite. I love it. It's delicious. It's got dried cranberries in it. So I'm sure I had that night, but probably skipped the appetizer. My son had a sort of meatball soup, and I'm wishing right now that I had kept the menu. And what happened was when you scan the menus, they open on your phone. And so I thought, well, I just won't ever close them. And then I'll have all the menus when I get home, right? That didn't work. When I tried pulling them up at home, of course, it was just a blank page because I couldn't reach the Carnival Hub app. So the only menus I ended up with are the ones I did take pictures of. So I didn't have a menu there, but we did have, I had the steak that night, which was okay. I can't remember exactly what kind of cut it was. Again, I wish I could. But it was the cut that they serve on formal night. And it was just okay. I remember, it was pretty good. It was a decent sort of what I think of almost like a flat iron steak, So It was pretty good. My son had, what did he have here? He had a pasta dish. Oh, he had pasta carbonara. Also very good. He seemed to really like it. He ate it all. I had the chocolate melting cake for dessert. My son had some ice cream, which I think actually was sherbet. I think he had like a lime sherbet. Now, the chocolate melting cake, I hardly ever get that. And then when I do, the thing is, it's good and people love it. Okay. It's a big Carnival favorite. To me, it looks like a small serving, doesn't it? It's a little serving. There is so much in that cup. It is so rich. It's very decadent. And I mean, it's very chocolatey. It is literally like your mouth is drowning in chocolate. You are suffocating on chocolate. So if you got to go, it's a good way to go. Suffocate on chocolate. But yeah, I rarely see, and I love sweets. I love sweets. I love cake. I love candy and stuff. I rarely can finish it. It is so rich. I did order it that night. About once a cruise, I'll grab it. Some people, I think, have it every single chance they get. But it's very rich. It's delicious. It is delicious. And in fact, it figures into the chef's table, which we'll look at coming up next. The chef's table is probably, for a lot of people, going to be the most sophisticated dining experience they're likely to have. Even for myself, and I've had a few fairly sophisticated dining experiences, it's a pretty good showing in ability, in technical skill, and in the selection of ingredients that they choose to use for the chef's table. My son and I both did sort of dress up for the chef's table and for the formal night behind me, the formal night that we just did. I'll show some pictures here. This is us, kind of dressed up. The chef's table got the privilege of seeing me in my kilt, my Utila kilt that I save for special occasions. I have worn it on cruises before, but a lot of times I don't get a picture in it for some reason. I don't know why exactly. I mean, I might have a picture in my room. This time I did stop and do like a Carnival picture, but I'm not sure the background really matches there. I mean, I'm kind of a steampunk cowboy. That's my deal. I'm a steampunk cowboy. And here I am in a graffiti covered urban alley. But we do kind of dress up, and we did in this case. Now, the chef's table, as I said, is a remarkable experience, probably the most remarkable dining experience a lot of people are going to have. So let's take a look at the menu. Okay, so that's the menu. And I actually have a copy of it right here. I have a copy of the menu right here because they give you a copy of the menu as part of it. You also receive, I'll figure it in. No spoilers, no spoilers. You receive something else, and you receive a picture from the event, which you'll see the picture here. But the third thing you get, I'll save till the end because it's kind of a surprise for the group dining. Now, there are listed 8 courses. In reality, of course, you start with 3 small courses. So it's actually a total of 11 courses. And it can vary a little bit from ship to ship. This is the Vista. Okay, on the Breeze, back in August, it was a different menu. Much different. This one is pretty close to what I had on the Vista in March of 2020. It hasn't changed much, but it had changed a little bit. It had changed a little bit, but not much. So you're going to start with what's not on the menu, which are kind of the 3 amuse-bouche type courses. It's just a kind of a singular bite, a singular taste. And in this case, it's following a theme and a sort of culinary story regarding flavors and the anticipation of flavors and what you can add to something that makes it taste, completely different. The essential ingredient with the first 3 courses you see here were mushrooms. And then I should have recorded the entire thing. I didn't, but it's great. You'll have some surprises if you go. But, like the purple one is mixed with a sort of raspberry. and one of them is basically the scent and flavor of mushroom infused into the liquid that you see there. So that's what you start with. Each of those is really just a bite. You also start with bread. I guess you could almost count bread as another course because it does come out separately. So it's almost like a 12 course if you're going to count bread as that separate course. And I think you should, because they do serve it essentially as a course, and then it is cleared away. So it's not bread on the side throughout the meal. Don't eat it all. They'll probably bring out, I remember on the Breeze, it was like a loaf. It was like this huge chunk of bread. I don't eat it all because it's right at the start, and you do have a lot coming. These courses are going to look small. They are small, but remember, you're talking about 8 full courses plus the 3 amuse-bouche plus the bread. Fill up. You really do. And it's paired with wine. You start with what they call kind of a chef's taste, which again could be seen almost as an amuse-bouche. It's not. It's bigger than an amuse-bouche. An amuse-bouche should really just be sort of one bite. So you have the chef's taste. Maybe it's a sort of appetizer that you can see there. This is a hazelnut cookie with frozen raspberry and Greek yogurt, and then the pork belly and bacon snow and kimchi glass and foam. If you're reading on the menu here, you can get a feel for how the meal is going to go. And you may look at it and think, the white thing in the middle is actually the bacon snow or the kimchi glass or something. It's not. That's actually the eggplant dusted candy floss. So sort of like a cotton candy with eggplant dust on it. It's a remarkable setup, and it does taste good. If it sounds scary to some people, it's not. It tastes really, really good. Everything is suited to an even palate. I'll call it an even palate. You have duck following that, also excellent. And what they call their surf and turf, which is a lobster bisque sphere. That's the sphere you see there. And you stir it into that beef broth. So it's actually a soup course. But they call it the surf and turf. It is excellent. It's very unusual. You have sea bass after that, lamb. Then you do have an actual steak. You have the prime New York strip. The real winner for that with me was what they call the milk chips. So that's the little white sort of flaky bits you see there. They're very sweet. They're made out of milk, and I assume sugar. Can't remember what they said. I think so. And they're very crunchy, and so it's like kind of like dehydrated milk, very cool. Then you've got the dessert. You've got 2 really dessert courses. You can see them both on here. My favorite is the second one. That's where you have the little burnt custard tart, which is different, I think. I think that's one thing that was different from the meal in 2020. Then you have the almond chocolate caramel. Awesome. And you have the raspberry licorice with elderflower caviar. The little caviar is those little round beads you'll see in some of the pictures, usually made out of, in this case, elderflower. So it's not actually like fish roe. It might be made out of some sort of juice, like a fruit juice or something like that. And they add, a sort of gelatin to it so that it becomes spherical. They put it through maybe a ricer, something of that. I'll call it a ricer. That'll give you a visual idea maybe of kind of how they do it. Now, so that's kind of the meal. And the meal lasts a long time, 2 to 3 hours, because, they bring out each course. They talk about what's going on with it. In between, how about the midway point? There is a break. There's a break, I assume, when they're resetting for the second half of the meal. There's a magician. Some people like it. Some people don't. Kind of this entertainment break during the meal. Maybe some people would rather have conversation, kind of hang out. But sometimes conversation lags, stuff like that. So this magician comes out. He's very good. It's very good. I was suitably impressed this time with him. And I don't normally like in-meal entertainment. Like, I don't like singing and dancing in the main dining room during my meal. I'm one of the people that doesn't. No, I don't complain, and I still go to the main dining room, but that's my least favorite part, was that part. This magician was good, and he chose my son, and he said, hey, think of a name of somebody that you haven't seen in at least 2 years. Write it down on a sheet of paper, like this little sheet of paper they gave him, and then tuck it he tucked it under his plate or something, right? He kept it to himself. And then the magician at the end, after doing some tricks, some card tricks, it's standard stuff, told my son to go through the alphabet, like A, B, C, D, E, F, okay, like that, right? Through the whole alphabet. And then he would tell him whose name he had written down, right? Now, the interesting thing here is, like, my son had written down, and the guy actually, the guy was writing down letters, as my son said, the alphabet, and the guy's looking at it, and he's like, I hope I pronounce this right. I hope this is correct. This is a really unusual name, and it was a really unusual name. It was Jacoby, and it was spelled Jakoby, which is how Jacoby, my son's friend that he hasn't seen in a while, does spell his name. And so the fact that this guy did get it and got it completely right, wrote it down in the correct order with a K, because a lot of times if someone asked me to spell Jacoby, I would spell it with a C. It was with a K. Awesome. So he was awesome. So you had that as a break in the middle. The other thing you have as kind of a break during this meal is they do a demonstration. Normally this demonstration would take place in the kitchen. And normally with this meal, there is a tour of the kitchen facilities, kind of a brief tour. And you have the meal in a dining room that is a room contained within the kitchen on the Vista. Now, because of COVID, of course, we had it actually in a private dining room off of the main dining room, and we didn't have the kitchen tour. And we had it in the private dining room because, as the chef pointed out, we couldn't even pass through the kitchen because of the risk. And that does make sense. They can't afford to lose the kitchen staff, first of all, by having COVID pass to the kitchen staff, because then you really aren't going to cruise. Ship cannot cruise without food. And also, if somehow we breathed on a surface and it transferred to a bunch of passengers, you can see the threat there. But what they do is a demonstration of how to make chocolate melting cake, like I had back in the formal dinner, because it is such a popular request on Carnival. So they show you how to make it, and they actually give you the recipe. There'll be a picture of this on the screen, and you can make it yourself if you want. Feel free to pause it and take a screenshot. But they show you how to make the warm chocolate melting cake during the presentation. So that is the chef's table in a nutshell. Like I said, it's a very sophisticated menu. You can definitely pause on the menu pictures and take a look at exactly how it's laid out. The food is excellent. I've had it twice now on the Vista. Both times it was excellent. Everything was excellently prepared. It was definitely top notch. I mean, it is a lot of people are going to look at it and think it's pricey. It is a little pricey, but the way I look, not really. I mean, it's pricey in that it is more expensive than the other food options on the ship. It is worth every penny. I think of this as really an excursion on the ship. It's a culinary excursion on board the ship. That's basically how I look at it. And so, yeah, in that way, it's not really expensive, is it? I mean, you'd easily pay $75 or $95. $75 was the price I paid this time. $95 is the normal price when you have the kitchen tour. So they did discount it a little bit for not having that tour. But whether you pay $75 or $95, worth every penny, worth absolutely every penny, fantastic value. I hope that you've liked hearing about this. Now, we're also going to talk about, during these food videos, Gigi, the Gigi Asian restaurant, and Cucina di Capitano. We're going to talk about other stuff like room service and the MDRs and stuff like that on the ship. And the worst thing I've ever had, ever, on a Carnival cruise ship. That'll be coming up in another video. For now, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me for Formal Night and the Chef's Table, two really incredible times to dine on Carnival Cruise Lines. And please join me next time for the rest of our dining adventure on Carnival. And I might throw in, well, no, we did eat in the Ports of Call a little bit. I'll probably put that in the Ports of Call video. The next video will pretty much just be food on this ship, just like this one was. Please hit like, subscribe, and notify so you can catch that video. And thanks for watching.